Hey guys, it's your one and only dyslexic Detective Jub here with another video. So, past few days I've been playing Last of Us 2. In my opinion, it is a fantastic game. I know it's getting a bit of hate and I sort of understand the hate, but this game gets way too much hate for what it is. But we're doing my first ever detective video on this game. So I've already completed the story when I was doing this, but the gameplay you're seeing, I came here on my second playthrough because I'm trying to get the platinum, and I have to collect every single piece of scrap paper. And I remember getting some of these scrap papers my first playthrough, but I didn't pay too much attention to them. But this time I paid much greater attention to them and found out some really cool stuff. So today we're going to be looking at a little town called Hillcrest and the story of Boris. So the first part to this little story, which is kind of hidden away in the game, is this little note back here. At first you won't really think much of it, but it makes sense later. Bear your fangs. This is obviously the wolves. If you've played a bit of the main story, at least you'll know about them and know they're not exactly the nicest of people. If you go across the street, there'll be a clothes shop window. If you go in here, you'll find this clothes shop. So as you're looking around, you seem pretty normal. As you can see, I'm using the scan mode to look around until you see this sort of like, I don't know, like a bunker sort of thing under. But yeah, it's like a nice little room. There's a workbench over there. But the more interesting thing is this. A note. So it seems to have some kind of archer here. Happy birthday, Dad. The best clicker killer in the whole QZ. So I did pick this up, but I forgot to record me picking it up, so I have a picture here of someone else picking it up. So trophy, if you inspect the trophy, Boris Sophie, I don't know if that's how you say his name, Sunnyvale Academy, first place. Now, Boris, okay, I'll stop doing it now. So Boris here we can assume is the person that the letter was addressed to, because it said their dad was the best clicker killer in the whole QZ. And he was holding an arrow, much like the person in this trophy, who obviously won this trophy for being good with an arrow. So yeah, you can obviously see that these two are connected. Okay guys, so if you have another little walk around this area, you'll find this, I guess sort of like a bookshop or library. I didn't really pay attention to the location too much. But I show you it right here, the letter. Dyslexic detective trying to read, don't judge me. Here we go. Boris, wolves have broken into the Fedra HQ and found the enlisted roster. I've heard they're starting to knock on doors looking for soldiers. I'm not going to be executed in my own town. After things calm down, I'll try to return with a new name. I couldn't find Alfie. I put his food on your back pouch in case I don't come back. Give him lots of scratches for me. He always loved you and Sophie. Yolandi, I think that's how that last name's pronounced. So this is obviously talking about, this is a letter from Boris saying that the wolves have been knocking on every door one by one, trying to recruit soldiers, but he doesn't want to be a wolf. He just wants to sort of live in his own town, it looks like. But he also doesn't want to get executed, so it looks like he's going to try and fight to stay in his town. There is another note in this location which I am going to read. Boris, what did we get ourselves into? The wolves were supposed to make things better. The military hoarded off all of our resources, controlled what we said, told us what jobs to do, and so far the wolves are doing the same exact thing. And now they're talking about moving everyone to the stadium? What? I grew up in this town. I survived the outbreak in this town. I'm not moving to some refugee camp where some asshole tells me when I can't wipe my own ass. This is my home. We need to plan. We can't settle for this thing, Yuli. So again, in this letter we can also see, which is addressed to Yuli, but it's written from Boris, and it's talking about how the wolves are trying to move everyone to the stadium. Obviously a bit later in the story we'll see the stadium and see what they're doing over there. But I do find this letter also quite interesting. So there is actually another note here. I'm so sorry. What those wolves did to Sophie was horrifying. I can't help but feel somewhat responsible. I've been getting the whole town so riled up about standing our ground against the wolves. When she started spray painting over the rules, I didn't discourage her enough. I kept it from you. I thought she stopped. I know you want to retaliate against the wolves. Believe me, I feel the same way. But we can't. Not now. We've got to be smart. Let things cool down. People will be looking to you for how to handle this. You were a leader here after the outbreak. I need you to be a leader. Let's not let everything we fought for to be in vain. Yuli. Now this letter here is pretty sad because obviously it mentions how Boris's daughter, who we did see actually draw that little picture for him earlier, was spray painting over the wolf's rules and actually got killed for that. So it's quite interesting because without spoiling too much, we do find out a bit about the wolves in the main story, and like they don't seem like the worst people, but I guess some of them are bad if they did kill people just for spray painting over some rules. Now we can say that stuff was going bad for Boris before. His daughter was killed, his whole town where he grew up in was being taken over, but now we can say it's really gotten bad. Let's have a read of this letter. Yulu. It was Boris. I saw him shooting the WOF patrol against their own van. Jesus, I get it. They killed his daughter, but he just signed our death warrant. We have one chance of life. One chance of this. We turn him in. I know he's your friend, but if those wolves shoot that girl over some graffiti, think of what they'll do. Think of what they'll do to all of us if they think we're harboring the killer of three of their own. Let's meet at the usual place after fucking words. So other than my really bad reading, we have something else wrong here. It looks like Yuli, who we've seen in the previous letters, is trying to get the whole town to take Boris into the wolves for their freedom. So, like I said before, right here, now it's really going downhill for Boris. Because not only has his daughter died, and his town's been taken over, now his town is possibly going to turn on him. There is yet another note here that does refer to Boris. Yo, when Dale comes back, he's gonna ask for the safe combo. But just walk over to the garage and put yourself in. Otherwise, he's gonna bother you 8 more times. The combo is 30, 82, 65. Someone needs to talk to his wife. I know she wants to think he's gonna get better, but it's time to practice. I heard the WOF have some real doctors in their base. Nobody would blame her for leaving, except Boris, but fuck him. So you can actually go to where this safe code is. As you can see in this clip here, I'm looking around. There is a safe. The safe does have a gun holster in there, and also when you do open this, a bunch of zombies come out. Possibly could Boris have trapped them in? Maybe, I don't know. But in the actual office, I couldn't find anything that did really refer to Boris himself. Now, just before we get to the big cheese of this story, there's 2 little things I wanted to show. First of all, you can find the provision manual, I think it was called. 2 reasons you could get this, probably either one, because this is where you first get the bow and arrow, so obviously you want to unlock skills for it. But if you think about it, it probably does also belong to Boris, since it's in his town. And once you jump out of the window in there, on this truck, which I actually missed while I was editing, you'll see it says, "Come get me." On there. So this was most likely definitely written by Boris, because we knew he was trying to fight them all off, and maybe like this was his way of sending a message to them. Now, something you might not even noticed or paid attention to was this here. There's like a infected sort of corpse thingy with arrows in it. Originally I thought this was the scars, but if you think about it, it would have had to have been Boris, because he was in the location at the time of this, and the scars are nowhere to be seen at this part of the game. There is actually one more letter, and this one is double-sided and probably the most interesting out of all of them. Yolandi, I'm sorry I won't be able to take care of Alfie. You were right about the wolves. They turned out to be worse than the military. What I didn't expect is our own neighborhood would turn on each other. They all saw what the wolves did to my poor Sophie. And what did everyone want to do in return? Appease? I deserve wolf blood. They should have joined me instead. They conspire against me, so I got them first. I poisoned them one by one, not enough to kill them, just put them to sleep, then dragged them in a spore garage. Yuli woke up. We wrestled. I shut him in there, but he bit me. Those traitors are going to watch each other turn. They will suffer. I hope they think of me when they lose their minds. I'm already starting to lose my mind. It won't be long now. I hope you find peace somewhere outside of this shitty town. I hope you don't come back to see all of this. If you do, I'm sorry. Boris. So first of all, Yuli was a boy. I didn't actually realise that until I was editing this and reading them properly. But yeah, that's not the thing you're supposed to take away from this. The thing you're supposed to take away from this is that Boris ended up finding the traitors, the ones that we saw in the notes before, planning against him. He poisoned all of them, then got them to be infected so they would all go crazy. So he really punished them for what they did, and to be honest, from what we saw in the letters, it looked like they deserved it. Now you're probably thinking this is like the Ish situation, where it just ends right there, like we don't actually see anything in the game other than letters. Well, you would actually be very wrong. So I'm actually going to play a clip to you from my original footage when I recorded this on my second channel. And oh my god, there is Boris in the flesh. Or should I say, in the rotten flesh. We actually get to see him. This is so cool. And I didn't even notice this properly in my first playthrough. And here's the even cooler thing. You actually take his bow. The bow that Ellie uses through the story is Boris's bow. Remember when Destiny said that every single one of their guns has a backstory? That was a bunch of bullshit. But in The Last of Us 2, the bow and arrow actually has a really interesting story behind it. And it makes sense as well, because in the letter, Boris said that he was going crazy, and obviously if the letter's there, he was writing the letter in there, and eventually he turned himself into a zombie, and yeah, that was, I was really happy when I found out about this whole sort of thing, because I was reading the letters at first and thought, oh, there's like a story here. Then as I was playing for this section again, I saw he had the bow, and I was like, oh my god, that's Boris. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Good on you, Naughty Dog. Now there is technically one last little thing I thought was kind of cool. So this was obviously his house, I'm assuming. And it's got like a little archery thing, which is obviously where he must have used to practice his bow and arrow skills. And you as Ellie can also practice your skills here. But yeah, that is pretty much the whole story of Boris in The Last of Us 2. I'm really happy they added this in, because if you watched my last video, you'll know I was a really big fan of the Ish stories, of like his letters everywhere, and this was a similar thing, but this one was actually better, because we actually got to see, I guess, a proper conclusion to this. But yeah, I think there might be some other stuff in the game sort of like this, so I'm going to sort of put a bit of research into it. Maybe I can find some other video material in this game. But yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot. But that is the end of this video. Subscribe to this channel if you want. I do a lot of other videos like this. I'm keeping my schedule, trying to upload every Friday. Yeah, I've got a main channel where I'm doing a full playthrough of The Last of Us 2. And yeah, that's the end of the video. Thanks a lot for watching, and bye.